Congratulations on Cara being selected for Fright Fest. It's the 25th anniversary. So it's a big part of Fright Fest history. How are you feeling about the screening?
Um, Amazed, genuinely amazed, because obviously you want to be at Fright Fest. You just want to. If you're making horror films, you want to be at Fright Fest, but to get your world premiere of your first feature at Fright Fest is hugely exciting. Uh, yeah, I've been thinking about how do you express it any differently to anybody else, and it's always the same thing. It's like it's an honor, and I'm tremendously excited and terrified, and all the other things that go with it. But I just can't wait.
And then going, to Cara, how, for anybody who hasn't read up on it yet, how have you been describing it to people?
We've settled on pitch black psychological horror. Um, it's been described differently already in previews. We've had psycho girl revenge flick, maybe, um, and psychodrama, which was an interesting one. But yeah, we've gone with pitch black psychological horror film because it's a film that is designed to be uncomfortable throughout, then hopefully quite jarring towards the end. So it's very much designed to be a horror film that tries to play with your mind without resorting to some of the tropes you usually use to do that.
And how did you come up with the idea for this film?
Gosh, it's a series of, because anything I write about, usually, or most people, it's something that bothers you enough to break through the procrastination that all us writers have and make something. It was a series of things I've seen over the years, my involvement with some websites, and one that stuck in my mind. And it is reasonably grim, but it was someone just said, click this link, check this link out. We must going back late 90s. And it was one of the earliest, it might be in the early 2000s, sort of sex cam sites. And I clicked this link, and a very pixelated video player came up, and there was a woman in it who didn't look terribly happy. She had like an ankle tag on. And then there was a next to her, she was undressed. Next to her was a chat window full of men that were angry. And I remember sitting looking at this, thinking, nobody's enjoying this.
Mm.
This is relentlessly grim. I mean, I'm all doing what they want, but anyone I've met in that industry over the years, there's very few that have been very happy or there because they genuinely enjoy it. And that became part of Cara. So it wasn't the drivers, but that was certainly one of the ones that made me go, that would be what she was trying to do to get by. To look at someone's sense of self-worth and things like that. And then very much not just the nastier people that watch, but the apathetic people that watch as well, that just simply consume someone's self-respect and everything else along with it. And then, of course, over the years, we've seen what's happened with our capability of dealing with mental health. And it all played in, and the difficulty was how to put these very tricky things together without making a preachy film. I wanted to make one where if you wanted to look at that, you could, but if you didn't, you could watch a psycho woman revenge flick, I guess. So it was a long time coming together, but it came from so many different places and so many experiences and people I've met and things I've seen, and they just all came together into Cara.
And obviously, in the title role, you've got the fantastic Eddie O'Hara. The film requires, a lot of emotion and vulnerability. How did the two of you, work together to craft this character?
Elle was from the first self tape, it was evident she was probably going to Cara. From her audition, it was clear she was Cara. We spent a long time, because all actors have different requirements. Some don't want to know anything, they just want to crack on and get it done. But with Elle, we worked very hard on the Cara character. I gave her an entire life story that no one will ever be privy to. All the things we've left vague in the film. Elle knows most of the reality behind it, and we worked really hard because we didn't want Cara to be a final girl. We certainly didn't want it to be like, I spit on your grave, some avenging angel. Cara was to be something else. So, Elle's input was invaluable to that. We spoke for a long time. We had a little bit of rehearsal. But I think mostly it's about hopefully you get your actor to really trust you and you develop it together, and when they feel safe and that everything's okay to investigate the kind of emotion she had to put out there, she felt like she was in a good place to do that.
Yeah, it definitely comes across. And then you've also got Johnny Vivash, who is a Fright Fest regular, is both an attendee and
Yes.
star of many a Fright Fest film. He tends to be kind of the nice guy, and I think in this film
Yeah,
it's safe to say that he's got a less than appealing role. Why did you think that he was right for the role of John? Because it is kind of very different to what I think the
it
Fright
is
Fest audience
very
are expecting.
different. There's a nice little story. He came to audition for a different role, the role of Dave, the old guy in therapy. And he sent in a self tape, and you just tape to Johnny, whether on tape or certainly in person. It's non-negotiable. You like Johnny Vivash. That's just how it is. And I think it was a casting director, Michaela, that knew of him or knew him and sent a tape. And he came up to Manchester. He read for the part of Dave, and although he was brilliant, he wasn't right for Dave. And in the original script, the John Fisk character was a large man, a big man, a scary man. And I'd auditioned a couple of guys along those lines, but it just wasn't working. So after Johnny had gone, I saw someone else. I asked Michaela to I just had an idea. I said, "Will you ring Johnny and ask him to come back?" Why? I said, "Just please, just to read Fisk." So he came back. We left him in a corner for half an hour, and he brought something completely different to it. After a little chat, he leaned more into the vulnerability you see at first, the simp sort of character, and he gave a great read. He spent about an hour selling me on the idea when I'd already decided, but he looked like he was having fun, so I let him finish, and then rang him on the channel way home. So let's do this because it was so different, and it just changed the dynamic in a really, really interesting way. So it was one of those happy accidents that you grab onto, and if you had more of a brass neck than I have, you'd claim it was your genius. When instead it was just I was very fortunate in how it came together, and I was given that option.
Um, Cara is obviously, she's dealing with a lot, and throughout the film, she's attacked by, intrusive thoughts. And what I really liked is the way that, you chose to shoot these scenes differently. There's like different colors that descend, and it really kind of, to me, helps capture that sort of mental spiral that can happen when you're experiencing these sorts of things. Just wondered what your thought process was behind shooting them in this sort of way.
We shot them absolutely straight, on set, absolutely straight. Because the first couple of episodes she has, they deliver it very straight. And my original intention was to perhaps leave it like that. And then we had Lawrence Harvey on set. We were chatting, and he said, "Shall I try it just leaning in a little bit?" So I went, "Yeah, go on," because it's Lawrence, he's brilliant. And so he said, "If I go too far, will you tell me?" I said, "Don't worry, just let's see it." And he just smashed it. From the really nice cafe owner to her vision of the cafe, he just nailed it. So when I was doing color grade, I'd had in mind, I'd spoken to the DP about changing the lighting for those scenes, but we just shot flat. So I thought I was going to try it with the picture that was in my head and see how it works. And I fell in love with it, just the way the world skews just enough. And of course, I was brought up on lots of Argento. So I'm not shy about hammering the color from time to time. And I just thought it really worked in the sense of it's quite jarring But not it's not as jarring as if we'd had them on a green screen and changed all the backgrounds and had everything going on. Just take reality and give it a twist. And I just tried it, loved it, did it about 50 or 60 times because that's what I do. I'm obsessive about these things. And we finally got it somewhere. I think it looks great. Hopefully everybody else will as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a really sort of nice, subtle technique to kind of, show the different stages of where Cara is at any given time.
It's so strange talking to people about Cara because I've been obviously I spoke to a lot to the cast and the crew to a degree when we shot it. Ken, the other part of Black Octopus, I bored him to tears over it. And Graham, who produced it with us, yeah. And then for the best part of 12 months, it was me locked away. I had a brief period with a guy called Andy, who was, my eyes on for editing. But the rest, it was just me sat in a room with Cara. And so it's really surreal talking about my film as if I have any kind of objective view on it whatsoever, because I really don't. I go through days of not being able to look at it and days of absolutely being in love with it.
Mm.
Um, it's everything down to the way it looks, the way it sounds, and my cast, which I still can't believe I got that cast. There's not one weak performance in it. I've rambled here. I'm getting excited. I am sorry.
But it's fine. It's nice to hear when someone's passionate. Something as well that I really liked about the film was that it's unapologetically northern. So many UK
Yeah.
films think that England begins and ends in London. Why was it important, to showcase a different part of the
Well,
country?
I am a Mancunian, um, and we shot it here in Manchester. But the main part of the cast is actually Scottish. That's only because Elle is Scottish,
Yeah.
and she can do, standard English. But I was like, well, why let anything get in the way of your performance? So now we have to find Cara's mum and make her Scottish. Cara's dad is actually from Liverpool, but he sounds very Scottish when he puts the accent on. So that was good. But we're in the north. We've cast people from everywhere. Well, everywhere. England, Scotland, and Ireland. I don't think we had any Welsh people. We'll fix that next time. But it was just about the story. I didn't really care about the accent. Because Cara isn't in a place. I mean, granted, if you're from a certain part of Manchester, you'll know exactly where we filmed most of it. But Cara, the story happens somewhere in Britain. Could be Glasgow, Manchester, wherever. But obviously, I will always try and get people from around sort of here because they're horribly underrepresented anyway. It's very London centric or very BFI centric. And I don't really play with that. I just get the best actors I can possibly get. And as long as I can understand them, we're winning. And like I say, I've been so lucky with that. So the accents, the only thing that came into play, like I say, was trying to make sure we could make us family
Mm.
Scottish, which worked out because we got Julie Hannon who plays a mum, and she was absolutely wonderful as well. I'm going to go about everybody, by the way. I'll just get that out of the way. There's no juicy stories. Everyone was brilliant.
Yeah, but I think it's just nice to see another part of the country, represented, in whatever way. Like I say, it's not explicitly, oh, now we're here in Manchester and now we're there in Manchester. It could be like
It is
any
northern.
town. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the fact that it's, beyond the M25 does exist, which, as somebody from Nottingham, I've, been I mean, I'm classed as a northern and I'm not, I'm from the middle. I'm from the middle.
Midlands, yes.
I'm from
Well,
the middle, but but
it's all
but to
perspective.
London, to London, I'm as north as it could possibly be. I'm from this mythical place that doesn't exist. So it is nice
Well,
to
our
show
last
these
short
places.
film, which hasn't been released because we're actually going to, we're working on getting a feature version of it together. It was called Uncle Jack. And the lead guy in that was Bruce Jones, who used to be in Coronation Street. But that short film was ferociously Mancunian. it was ferociously Mancunian. Hopefully, we can get the features somewhere like that. That might be a little more difficult, but I'll do my very best. You could literally pinpoint that film down to a 5 square mile sort of area in Manchester. It was that specific. But I think that's what people should do if they can. We've got more independent filmmakers than ever. It's not easier to make a film than ever, but it's more affordable than it's ever been with digital equipment and rental prices and even having your own kit. And I'd love to see much more. This is my area. These are the people I'm around. This is the story we've got to tell, as long as it's not at the expense of the story, because then that smells a bit like BFI pandering as well. But yeah, just don't be shy about where you're from or where your film's based. Do it. And what else do you do? You can run it over the flagpole, see who salutes it, and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Dead Man's Shoes, Shane Meadows and,
Yes.
Paddy Considine and and Toby Kebbell. Yeah, that was filmed in Matlock, which is, not far from where my family's originally from. And, that went on to, to launch huge careers. There is an argument for, showing other aspects, other
Because in
stories,
honesty, I think to some stories, I mean, Cara could be anywhere, but with Dead Man Shoes, very much that area the story felt steeped in it, and like Rita Sue and Bob too, the old sort of sex comedy from the 80s, very much it's steeped in the area. And I could go on and on and on. I'm not even getting to Ken Loach stuff. But it does, it really works sometimes. Depends on your stuff, but sometimes that story is best told where it was dreamt
yeah.
and where your passion comes from for it. And if you can get away with it, definitely do it. Because we can't have everyone sounding like the Hollywood idea of an English person.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess sort of like my final question with Fright Festers are currently sort of like trying to figure out their lineup and what they're going to watch when. Why do you hope that they put Cara onto their schedule?
There are 3 single tickets left as at the time of doing this. Um, why do I hope they? That's difficult, isn't it? Because I hope they'd want to see something a bit different, something that's perhaps not a safe roller coaster ride or a movie. Not that there's anything wrong with those. I don't consider myself elevated for not making one. Um, if you just fancy something a little bit darker, a little bit more abrasive, then it might sting just a little bit, then I think you should definitely give Cara a shot and come say hello if you like it. If you really like it too much, don't say hello. That'd be uncomfortable. But if you enjoy it and appreciate it, let me know.
I wish you the best of luck with the screening.
Thank you very much.